You always know it's a great filming day when the first 2 minutes of the video don't get captured on film. This video is going to be using Sephora's bestsellers to do my whole face. I've seen videos done like this before. I thought they always looked kind of fun. So that's what I wanted to do today. This video is in partnership with Sephora. I've done a few partnerships with them so far this year and I've loved it every time. They're great to work with. They're a store that I have shopped with for years since they first opened, so I'm honored to be collaborating with them again, and I spent way more money than I planned to with them this holiday season. I'm sure many of you are the same, and of course it does help if you're a member of the Beauty Insider program because you get all kinds of perks and discounts and everything like that. So I'll leave all those details down below. If you're not signed up, you can do that. Let me know what you got this holiday season beauty-wise that you've been loving. I'm always looking for other ideas so I can throw them in a video. My primer is already on. I thought I filmed it. I didn't. I did use the Fenty Pro Filter Instant Retouch Primer. This is a great primer I've really been liking. I haven't really talked about it on my channel except when I first bought it. It feels kind of lotiony and smooth. It's mattifying and blurring, but it doesn't feel drying or look drying or anything like that. So that's what I used on my face. What was also not captured on film, unfortunately, was me dusting a tiny minute bit of translucent powder, the powder I'll be using in a minute actually, along my forehead and down my T-zone where I typically get shiny. And the reason why I did that today, I don't do that every day, is because of the foundation I am using, which is Armani Luminous Silk. I got this recently in a haul after thinking I didn't really like it because I tried it in the past and I don't know, I kind of thought it was just too shiny for me, I guess. I do have oily combination skin, but I'm also over 40 and having foundations like this, which are kind of medium coverage and they don't emphasize anything bad, they really just give you such a beautiful look. I'm trying to get this light off my face that my mirror reflects from my windows. Anyway, it's just such a beautiful foundation really because it lets your skin show through, but it covers nicely. It's a beautiful special occasion foundation if you don't like a heavy coverage. So that's what I wanted to use today because I haven't really talked about it, and I know a lot of oily combination skin women like myself don't like to use foundations that give kind of a radiant finish or a glow. It's always fun to try and talk when you're bouncing a sponge on your face. But I recently rediscovered it and it's really nice. It does just give such a beautiful finish. But I do find that I have to do that powder trick on my T-zone just to prevent shine a little bit longer. It doesn't take away from the natural lookingness of the foundation. I do know that that's not a word, but it does help it stay shine free a little bit longer than it would on its own, even with adding powder on top and setting it. So in this video, I'm going to be showing some products that I use regularly, but I'm also going to be showing some products that I haven't used in a while or that I may have not ever talked about on my channel before. So hope you guys enjoy. I think it'll be kind of fun to rediscover some products. So you can see here that this foundation has covered up some redness, but it looks really natural. So the shade I have in this foundation is 3.5. It's a little bit light, but I'll fix that later on with bronzer. All right, let's talk concealing, correcting, and all that good stuff. And actually, we'll finish priming. I'm gonna use the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. This is the anti-aging one because that's the one that I have. I tried to pull from the top 2 rows of the bestsellers. I think I was able to do that for pretty much every single product that I'm using. I also am using the Becca Under Eye Corrector to correct under my eyes. I'm just going ahead and telling you what I'm using in this region so that we can just get that out of the way just in case I start rolling. And I'm using the Too Faced Born This Way Sculpting Concealer under my eyes and on my face. The shade I have is light beige. I thought about using the Too Faced Concealer on my eyes, but I hadn't used this priming potion in a long time. Gosh, I forgot how slippy it is before it sets. So I thought it might be good for me to kind of rediscover it. And I like the anti-aging version, which I don't think this one is exactly the one that's on the bestsellers page, but it's still really good, and it is a variety of the one that's on the bestsellers page, so I thought that would be okay with you guys. I do have to set it so it won't crease. I have to set pretty much every primer that I use on my eyes so it doesn't crease, and it doesn't correct. The one in the shade Eden is the one that I used for a long time, and it does have correcting properties as well. So I'll need to use a base shadow to correct the discoloration on my eyes, because you can see they're still a little bit red. I'm gonna go ahead and take my translucent powder. This is the Too Faced Peach Perfect, and set my eye area just before it creases. Sometimes I wait to do this, but I figured I'd just go ahead and do that. Ooh, it smells good. This is just a very nice, light, mattifying powder. This is in my top setting powders video, if you haven't seen that, to see what my favorite setting powders are for mature, over 40, oily combination skin. Actually, I touch on every skin type in that video, but this is one of my favorites. Okay, I have not used this Becca corrector in a long time, and I don't remember really liking it that much. It's kind of thick. If you follow my channel, you know I typically use a corrector that has SPF in it and just some different properties. I remember finding this extremely light, kind of unnaturally light. I don't know, who knows? I am feeling a little bit sinusy today, and so maybe this is what I need to help me not look so puffy and dark under my eyes. You can see it is giving a brightening effect. I find it does give more of a brightening effect than an overall correcting effect, if that makes sense. It definitely brightens, and I didn't need hardly any. And I just dot this underneath my eyes where I need it, and then pat it in with a sponge. I'm anxious to see how this combination works. You may not even be able to tell I used the Becca corrector. What I typically use is more moisturizing than the Becca, but the Too Faced is pretty moisturizing, so maybe it'll work out in the end. And I just take what's left, pat it on my nose to kind of cover up those sunspots. When I use this to spot conceal anywhere on my face, I typically take a little brush and just dab it on the wand, because the wand deposits a little bit more than what I'm comfortable with. I don't really have that much to conceal on my face, just a couple of little spots. And I'll take my sponge or my finger and just pat that out where it looks natural. I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder underneath my eyes. This is not surprising to those of you who follow my channel. I am going to press out the little creases underneath my eyes from me looking down first. And I'm gonna pat this where I crease the worst with a sponge. And then I'll dust the rest on with a brush. Now, I could have set my face with that Charlotte Tilbury powder, but because this is such a glowy foundation and I do have oily skin, I do want to set with something kind of mattifying, which does kind of take away from the initial glowy look of the Luminous Silk, or the luminous look of the Luminous Silk, but because my natural oils will come through, it will eventually get that look during the day. If you have drier or normal skin, you probably can do whatever you want. You may not even need to set it. But for me, in the past, this foundation has really slid off my face if I don't set it. But if I set it well and do that, you know, little Wayne Gosh powder trick before, ooh, I just tasted peach. It lasts really well, and it just looks really pretty all day. And so how I get a more seamless look with powder, so that it looks like it melds in with my skin, is I press it into my face until it disappears with my dampened beauty blender. And then I'll just dust away any excess with my brush. But this just works really well, and it looks so natural. I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows off camera, or I'm gonna speed them up. I haven't decided, it depends on how long the video is. I'm using the Benefit Precisely My Brow in the shade 3.5. I don't think there's a name to this. It just says 3.5. I recently got this in a haul and have really been enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. The tip is really fine and it's not too waxy, so you actually get pigment. The color is nice. I'm typically ash brown, I think that's what it's called, in the NYX pencil, which is another favorite of mine. I just really like this if I want to get, you know, kind of precise looking hairs from a pencil as opposed to a pen, because I do use brow pens as well. I find that it's fairly quick to use, but it's also somewhat precise, and I feel like it's a little bit finer and goes on a little bit better than the Anastasia. I didn't try it for a really long time because I thought nothing could trump the Anastasia pencil but I think I was wrong on that. Since Charlotte Tilbury's Film Star Bronze and Glow is listed as a bestseller for both the contour and the bronzer category, I'm going to use it for both. And I'm just going to lightly contour just because I'm feeling a little puffy today with the sinus issues that I'm having. So I'm just going to take it kind of under the cheekbones. I'm not going to be too precise because I'm going to meld everything together a little bit later, but I'm just going to swirl it across my forehead and of course along my jawline, because I feel like that's where a lot of us can use help, especially when you're, you know, over 40. That area just starts needing a little bit more help. I like this product a lot because it's not too warm, so you can contour with it. It's just the perfect blend of warm and cool. You can contour with it if you need to. You can bronze with it all over and it doesn't look unnatural or, you know, muddy or too orange or anything like that. It's just kind of this perfect all-in-one product, and it's great to take on trips for that reason. And it does have a highlighter in it. I'm not using it for the highlighter today because it wasn't listed as one of the best sellers for the highlighter category, but the Anastasia Sugar Glow Kit was. So that's what I'm gonna be using. I'm thinking I might use Starburst, or maybe I'll use a combination of Starburst and Marshmallow. I don't know, we'll see what comes out with this. So right now I'm just gonna dab it into Starburst and maybe tap it 1 or 2 times into Marshmallow. Very pretty. I feel like I see that a little bit more on the monitor than I do in my mirror. I think it's my lighting in here. I used to use Tarte blushes all the time, specifically Exposed, and I've delved into other shades, of course. They're great blushes. They last a long time during the day, and I haven't used them in forever because I've been using all kinds of different blushes. I'm using the shade Sensual today because it's a great neutral shade, and I'm really not quite sure right now what I'm doing with my eyes. So it probably would have been good for me to do my blush last, but that's just not what I'm doing today. I'm going to be using the Huda Beauty Topaz Obsessions palette, but it doesn't have a wash of color just to neutralize the lid. So I'm going to be pulling that from just my good old Tartelette in Bloom palette. I'm going to use the shade Flower Child as a wash all over my lid just to neutralize everything and give it a good neutral canvas so that everything washes over pretty smoothly. And I'm actually probably going to pull the lid highlight from here too, because I don't think that there's one in Topaz either. I know I have a couple of smaller palettes that I could have pulled that wash of color from, and if I was traveling and wanted to bring one of these, that's what I would do. Just grab this in one of my smaller palettes, but that's what I had close by. I'm going to take this medium neutral peachy shade and use it as a transition from my crease almost up to my brow bone. And this is just going to help other shades blend into it. It's a little bit deeper than the shade that I used all over as the canvas that I pulled from Tartelette in Bloom, and it just gives a little bit of depth, just a tiny bit. I'm going to take that same brush in this shade right here and kind of go in that same area but a little bit further down. So you can see how that's giving kind of an orangey, mustardy warmth there. I love this palette because it is so easy to work with. I never thought I would like a mustardy yellow shade on my eye, but it actually works out really, really nicely. Next, I'm going to take this corner shade right here. It's kind of a rusty, orangey, reddish shade, and put this in my outer third and kind of just swirl it upwards. And then I'm going to bring it slightly into the crease, just slightly. Basically just taking the remainder of it into the crease. This is just going to be kind of a soft, blown out, warm eye. Blending around those edges a little bit. And next I'm going to take this really deep brown and almost tap and draw so that I can place this in the outer corner. Only. I want this very localized, just to give a little bit of depth right there. I just want to make sure that this line is an extension of the lower lash line. So that's the direction I'm taking it in. I'm just making sure I'm going upwards that way and then kind of softly swirling and diffusing it so it hits just that outer third or even fourth. And you don't have to be precise on the lid because we are going to take care of that in a second. And now I'm going to take this kind of rosy, coppery shade on my finger. And then right over the top of that, I'm taking this gold shade and just dabbing that over the top with my finger as well. I'm just going back in with that deep dark brown shade to just blend that out a little bit, carry it further in. Okay, so I want to see more of that yellow pop, so I'm just gonna go back in with it really quickly. You could also do that with that peachy shade if you wanted to, or a different one if you wanted a little more vibrancy right there. But I really feel like seeing this yellow come through. I think this could be a pretty New Year's Eve look, actually. Oh, hey Luke, how you doing back there? I'm gonna go in with Charmer on my brow bone really quickly just to give it a little bit of a pop. Nothing too crazy, but it just kind of gives a little bit of a contrast, which is good. And I'm going to put that on the inner corner too, because my inner corner is always a little bit dark, no matter what. And on the lower lash line, which I almost forgot about, I'm going to run that peachy shade along my lower lash line. And that's just going to kind of open up the eye a little bit more. I'm going to take a smaller brush and get a little more concentrated with that rust shade. Sometimes when you go along your lower lash line, if you're realizing there's too much pigment, tapping the brush off onto your hand before you go in helps if you're a little scared that there might be too much pigment on it, you know, that it might lay down too much at once. That can help. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave that there and go in with eyeliner. Today, I am going to use the Urban Decay 24/7 in Demolition. It's one of my favorite cool deep browns, and I don't really want to go any warmer with this, but I don't want to use black either. And Urban Decay 24/7 consistently is on the bestsellers list. I'm going to go off camera or speed it up, I haven't decided, and do my eyeliner, curl my lashes, and use my mascara. And when I get back, I'll tell you what lash curler I used from the bestsellers list, as well as the mascara. All right, so I did a lot more than I said I was gonna do when I turned the camera off. I had to take a little break, and so I just took advantage of that break time. But I did put on the eyeliner, and I did curl my lashes and apply mascara. I used my favorite eyelash curler, which is Sephora's #1 best-selling eyelash curler, and it has been for a long time. It's the Shiseido. I love it. I think it's great. And I use the Milk Makeup Kush mascara. I haven't used it in a while, and it is pretty good. I have pretty sparse, thin lashes. They are pretty long, but they just have no volume, and it actually works pretty well for that. And I also put on Bite Beauty's #36 lip liner because I think it's a great nude neutral. It's a great base for any pink, peachy, nude lipstick that you want to put on, which leads me to the lip product that I'm going to apply, which is the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb in the new shade Fussy. I think that's what it's called. Fussy, yeah. It's just a great pink shade. I have the original, which is kind of the lip enhancing shade, and it was the only shade at first, but this one is really pretty. It's just a great lip enhancing neutral pink. It smells so good, and it just feels so good and moisturizing on the lips. I love this gloss. This is one of the few formulas of lip glosses that I feel like even if you don't like gloss, you would like this lip gloss. It's just so nice to wear. So before you cut out, let me know in the comments below, do you have any of these Huda Beauty Obsessions palettes? They're $25. The quality is great, and I'm kind of becoming obsessed with these little Obsessions palettes. So if you have some, I'd love to know which ones are your favorites. If you don't, are you planning on getting any? And are you a lip gloss fan like I am? I am loving lip gloss again. I never stopped loving it. I feel like everybody else did, but it has to be a certain consistency for me. So I just want to know those two things in the comments. Let me know. I hope you enjoyed this full face of Sephora's bestsellers. I've loved a lot of these products for a long time, and I've been able to kind of rediscover some that have been sitting in a drawer. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.